Hey guys, so I want to do a video on um, basically where I've been this past year and um, this past month and a half. And this is in regards to my sister, Georgia Lee Moses. Um, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit to last year. So last year I felt the Lord um, really working on me spiritually. Um, he had me get rid of friends. Um, like every day I was in devotion. Um, he was revealing things to me. And I feel like a lot of that was prepping me for this year. Um, Last summer, try not to cry. Last summer, um, the Lord worked on me as far as forgiving um, people in my past because I was molested for years growing up. And I didn't think that I had unforgiveness because a lot of the hurt and pain I moved past. Um, I wasn't showcasing the things that I typically showcased when I knew those things were affecting me. But I realized that I didn't forgive. And what made me realize that is when I thought about my daughters. I have three girls, and the thought of what happened to me happening to them instantly um, hardened me. And I realized that was a sure sign that I had not forgiven. I just kind of blocked it out and wasn't dealing with it. And so, because I felt like it was necessary, I prayed about it and I gave it to the Lord. And I said, you know what, Lord, like, I don't want to be in this position where my heart is so callous because of a situation that it's distancing me from you. So I gave it to him, and instantly I felt the weight being lifted. Um, I was able to think about things that happened to me, and yeah, it still hurt, but I felt light. I didn't feel that that grip, that death grip on me, and I knew that I was now forgiving those people. Um, and even now, like, I can honestly say to all those people of my past that I forgive you. Um, and sometimes it's a constant process because we're human. Our emotions build up, life happens, and um, I can say for me thus far, I haven't had to really deal with that, um, which leads me to my sister. Um, Last year around this time, I was really um, in a place where Georgia was at the forefront of like my everyday thoughts. Over the years, like after my sister was murdered, um, there was like a lot of denial that took place. Um, I wasn't really, I, I didn't believe she was gone. Um, the initial, when I initially found out that she was murdered or that she was gone, um, it stung because my sister was like my everything. She practically raised me, um, and um, so when it initially happened, it hurt. But maybe because I was 7, maybe because I didn't understand the totality of what was taking place, um, I I buried it, and sporadically throughout the years, I thought about it. I thought about her. I Googled her. But there was a large part of me that felt she wasn't really gone. I even searched for her on Facebook at one point, like a couple years ago, hoping that I would see my sister. But this time last year is when I really started to deal with the fact that my sister's gone and she was murdered. Because before then, it was just, for the most part for me, I didn't think of her as being murdered. I would just think of her as just being gone. And um, for anyone that has experienced that type of death, there's a big difference from somebody dying and somebody being murdered. Um, for me, the fact that my sister was 12 and she was murdered in the manner that she was, I didn't really come to grips with that until um, like recently, like a few weeks ago. So fast forward to February. February, me and my friend, we did January we did a Bible devotional challenge. And February she started reading this book. And that book really it really opened up the wounds that I had for my sister. And I literally was like, I felt myself getting ready to have a nervous breakdown because so many memories started flooding in, so many questions, so many feelings, and I had this book from my childhood, and those are like the only pictures that I have of my sister, like that I have, and I couldn't find it, and I literally was going crazy because I felt like the only part of my sister that I genuinely had was gone, and I felt the Lord just calm me, and He said, "Give it to me," and I didn't want to give it to Him because when you are dealing with certain emotions, sometimes it feels better to process it in your human manner. And I knew giving it to the Lord meant that I had to let go of certain things. And like after just praying for like 10-20 minutes, I finally said, okay, Lord, I give my sister's case to you, and I have faith that it's going to get solved. Now, up until this point, it's going on roughly 23 years since her murder took place, and right now it's cold. The 23-year anniversary of my sister's death took place in August. So when I gave it to God, I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was the Lord's brought me this far, and I have faith that no matter what, those desires of my heart are going to be met. So fast forward to May or June, I decided it was time to do something in regards to my sister. I had been on forums, actually responded to one in hopes that something that somebody said, that person would respond back to me. That didn't happen. And so I was torn between writing a book, doing a podcast, just opening the case. There were so many different routes that I was pondering, but I didn't know which one to take. I was really leaning towards writing a book because I had already started, and I felt like that would be the place for me to really just put everything out there. But the fact that it would probably take a year or two, I was like, my sister deserves now action. And I prayed, and I decided that next day I was going to call the police department and work on her case. I woke up the next morning and I wasn't thinking about it. I just woke up to use the restroom, and typically I check my email just out of habit. And I saw from the forum I had responded to, there was an update. Um, and it was a flyer of my sister, and it was her reward flyer. And it had a picture of her and the suspect in her case, or the last person she was seen with. And I felt like that was confirmation to really do what I need to do. So I called the police department, and they said they would get back to me. And I did one more Google search, and I came across a Facebook page that was made for my sister. And that Facebook page, the first post was also that same flyer. And that flyer, it just confirmed that this is what I need to do right now, is to no longer be silent, no longer hide, no longer be afraid, but to get up and take action. And so since then, with a group of my sister's friends, we've made multiple posts. We've started a GoFundMe, a petition, and I think, first of all, I just want to say thank you, because when I made the thought to take this step, I knew emotionally it was going to be a lot. And in my mind, I felt like it was pretty much something I was going to do for the most part by myself, because I didn't know how special my sister was to everyone else. I knew how special she was to me, but I could have never imagined the community of love that has shown up. And in doing all of this, the post, the trolling, because I had to generate traction for my sister's case. Even when it took place, there wasn't a lot of noise, and there's a lot of different speculations as to why. I'm not going to get into that right now, but all of that, like, I made a website for my sister, trying to be in contact with the police department, who left me hanging up until like a few weeks ago, and the anniversary of my sister's death. I really emotionally hit a low. Like, I think for me, it was because I never really dealt with my sister's death. And so when her anniversary happened, I could feel myself being sucked lifeless. And so naturally, to act like I was okay and to be okay, I just started to pile stuff on top. So I started busying myself. And mentally, I was fine. I was awesome. I was getting stuff done. I had like 10 things on my plate, and I didn't even feel fazed by it. But emotionally, spiritually, I was really broken. And it was like a week after her anniversary. I was on a walk, and I was just talking to the Lord, and I was just like, what am I doing right now? Like, there's so much pain that I feel, but I'm masking it to be okay. And the Lord told me that I need to forgive. And I was like, okay, whatever. And this is in regard to my sister's murderer, So I spoke to my husband and I said, eventually I'm going to have to forgive her murderer because I feel that's what I need to do. So in my mind, I was thinking, whenever her case gets solved, hopefully it won't take a few years, but by that point, I will have forgiven. And some time went by, and I felt the Lord said, no, it's not when that time comes. Like, you need to forgive me now. And immediately, I felt the bitterness. Like, I felt my inside turning to ice because I did not want to forgive. Um, and when I made that decision, like, I felt my whole heart just shifting. And from that day forward, and it's been a little over a month, like, every day something would start to trigger. It'd be a song, it'd be a memory, it'd be a thought, it'd be quietness. Like, everything would start to trigger the pain. And I was just like, man, like, so I was literally like um, driving, and I would just start swallowing back my emotions so they wouldn't manifest. And it got to a point where it was like I couldn't. And I felt like I was being dangled in the air. And it was like I was either going to fall, I was going to be gracefully planted back to the ground. And it was in that moment that I realized that the reason why it was so hard to forgive was because I hadn't yet dealt with it. I hadn't yet dealt with my sister's death. I hadn't yet dealt with the um, the fact that my sister was murdered, the fact that she was raped and left on the side of the road um, to rot, the fact that somebody could do that to a 12-year-old. I hadn't yet dealt with that. I just put it in the back of my mind and just kept going. And when I started to really deal with all those things, it hurt. It hurt a lot. But I started to feel like I could breathe. I started to feel a peace, and it's unexplainable. And for me, for a long time, I found it really difficult to deal with my feelings. And thankfully, my husband is wonderful, and I've been able to be a lot more expressive and understand my emotions and not get so sucked up where I'm just paralyzed by them. Um, and when I started to deal with my sister's death and not run from it, I was like, okay, now I was able to address the unforgiveness. Um, and some people might think or ask, why? Like, who cares? Is not your place. You don't have to forgive your sister's murderer. Nobody would blame you if you didn't. And I don't do anything for anybody except for myself, my family, God. Um, and I know what me not forgiving has the potential of doing, and I know what it is doing. And I have way too much love to give um, to allow the emotions tied to one person to dictate my future. Um, I don't think a lot of people realize just how paralyzing you become, or how paralyzing the situation is when you remain bitter towards that person. Um, unforgiveness, I'm sorry, not unforgiveness, forgiving a person doesn't eradicate the pain. It doesn't make the situation better. It doesn't reverse the hands of time. Forgiving a person allows you to be free from the bondage of entrapment. Um, every time I would think about forgiving my sister's killer, like it was like this something started happening to me, and I wasn't used to that. Mentally, physically, uh, emotionally. So I knew, despite how I felt, the right thing to do was to forgive. Um, so I've been going back and forth on making a video for about the last week. And last week, when I decided, or when I thought about making a video, in my mind, it was going to be on my journey to forgiveness because I hadn't yet reached forgiveness. But I felt like because so many people are pouring out, reaching out, they're wondering about my sister's case, they're wondering about me. I felt it was a topic that needed to be discussed. But in the past few days, I really worked on it, and I just reached a point where I couldn't contain any of it emotionally. No matter how hard I tried to keep a grip on it, it exploded. Um, and I feel like that's what I needed. I needed to just cry. I needed to just embrace the pain, because if you don't address something, it doesn't go away. It's like when you have your check engine light on in the car and you're like, oh, turn off the notification, and you keep driving, but eventually your car is going to break down depending on what it is because you haven't yet addressed the situation. And I feel like that's where I was. My check engine light came on and I was just turning it off and driving faster just to forget that it came on. And it reached a point where I was stranded on the side of the road emotionally, and it took God to restore me. And that's where I'm at right now. That's the purpose of this video, is to say that my sister's murder is a tragedy that I'll never probably understand. My sister was such a beautiful person. Like, she loved everyone. She not only did she care for me at the age, she was 12, I was 7, when she passed. She took care of me. She helped to take care of my mom. My mom had her own mental issues, and some days she was there mentally, some days she wasn't. And I don't say any of this to take away from my mom, because she tried. And I know a lot of people read the stories and they have their own conclusions, but my mom loved us and she tried her best to provide for us. But when you have schizophrenia and you're bipolar, your mind becomes your enemy, if it's not dealt with. And when I look back and I see my life, I understand, even the sacrifices that my mom made and tried to make. But my sister took on that burden, and she was such a champion with it. Like, she put her life on hold for me, and there's so much to our lives that people don't know, that people don't understand. And I just want you guys to know that everything my sister did, she did to make our lives better. And the fact that somebody could take advantage of a 12-year-old and 23 years later still possibly walk this earth and not feel convicted, all I can do is pray. And for the people that knew my sister, that had the privilege of meeting her, they could tell you that Georgia she was special, and I'm grateful to have those memories, because those times with my sister were some of the best years of my life. And I'm just, man, I'm just, when you look at your life and you look at the negative things that took place and you look at the positive things that took place, and you're able to focus on those positive things, it proves that God exists. Because no matter what has happened in my life, to have 7 years with Georgia is something that I'll forever cherish. Like, she was just amazing. And I used to think, like, and I would, think about her over the years, that I was just that little young kid that, oh, big sister. And then when I started reaching out on Facebook and, met her friends, and they remembered me, and I was just like, and they would share their stories. It was just like, oh my gosh, like, my sister touched you like that? Like, she was an inspiration, and her years here were not in vain. Like, she truly was somebody special. So back to the forgiveness part. I've forgiven my sister's killer, not because it sounds good, not because whatever reason somebody would want to make up, but I forgave her killer because in my heart I needed to. I needed to be free of feeling trapped. And like I said, forgiving doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't erase the tragedy, but it does bring a peace. Like, even in thinking about what took place, even in having to deal with the fact that my sister will not like ever be here, I still have a peace. Even in the fact that my sister at the age of 12 was murdered, I have a peace. And that's something that you can't fabricate that. And I'm so blessed to say I have that, because a week ago, I didn't. A part of me wanted it, but I knew what it would take to get it. And I wasn't ready to give that part up. I wasn't ready to hand it over. And a part of me felt that in giving that to God, it was going to take away what I had with my sister. And that's not the case. I still have it. I still have those memories. I still have the love. I still have the smile, the laughter. I still have all those things that my sister gave to me. And now I have it with peace. I can think about her. I can think about her not being here. And yeah, it hurts. I think it's going to hurt forever, just because She meant so much to me. But I'm free. I'm free from giving somebody my peace. I have it. When you're bitter, when you are in an unforgiving state, your peace now becomes their property. And I have it back. And um, it's a beautiful thing. Um, so I just want to challenge whoever may watch this video to not be held bound by unforgiveness. Um, you can forgive and still have your pain. You can still forgive and, you know, not want to deal with that person. Um, like I've thought about, and this was prior to me forgiving, what that experience would be like whenever my sister's killer does get caught, and it was always a blank because I didn't know. Um, I didn't know if I'd be one of those crazy people. Well, not crazy, but one of those people that just, they go crazy in the courtroom. I didn't know if I didn't even know if I wanted to be present, because that's a lot to deal with emotionally. Now, I have a pretty good um, idea as to how that's going to take place, and I want to say this. I have faith that my sister's murder is going to get solved. Um, Even though in these past 23 years, her case has lacked a lot of um, priority, I feel God is working things out. And the fact that I'm here today making a video about forgiving my sister's killer, when before the end of August, I didn't even think about my sister's killer in a manner of forgiving or not forgiving. It was, there's my sister, there's somebody who took her away. It wasn't oh, your sister was murdered by somebody. And you can choose to forgive or you can choose to not forgive. The choice is yours. Today, I've forgiven. I've forgiven, and that burden is no longer mine. Um, so, I think I've said everything I need to say. I did not intend on doing a 30-minute video, but life is real, and there's so much baggage that we carry from our past. The past is anything past right now. So all that baggage is toxic. There's nothing wrong with being hurt. There's nothing wrong with feeling the pain of those situations, but we can't be consumed by it. And I know a lot of people don't feel like they're consumed by it, because I didn't feel like I was consumed by it. I didn't feel that my childhood molesters consumed my peace, because it was a never mind. Oh, okay, it happened. Life goes on. I'm good. Happily married, 3 beautiful kids. But then when I thought about my daughters, I realized it consumed me. So now I can say I've forgiven. Yeah, it's a harsh reality that certain things took place. It's a harsh reality that certain things still take place in life. There's a lot of evil people out there, sick people out there, but I can't let my heart be hardened by those people, by those situations. I choose to love. I choose to continue to love. I choose to teach my daughters love. And in doing so, I rise above the shackles. I rise above all those things that are meant to keep us from being progressive. And I just thank God for guiding me. Um, like I said, I'm a very, very private person, especially when it comes to my emotions, my feelings. Um, and I was like, I can't make a video. I can't put this stuff out there. But it's not about me. And I realized that. It's about being able to, if only one person, show somebody that forgiving is not a bad thing. Forgiving is necessary, and it's a process. You know, I had to really dig deep. I had to deal with things. I had to, be transparent and understand that it's better out than in. So, thank you for watching, and I pray that if you're dealing with unforgiveness, if you're dealing with any traumatic experiences that occurred in your life, that you're able to have forgiveness and you're able to be better in the process. Because there's enough evils out there. There's enough negativity, and me personally, I want to give my family the best version of me. I want to give the world the best version of me. There's kids out there that need people that are willing to love them. There's people out there that need just a smiling face, a sincere hello, how are you doing? And when we're consumed by these emotions, we focus on ourselves. And just imagine how much better the world would be if we chose to do one kind thing for the next person. Not because we want somebody to take a video, not because we want somebody to give us a kudos, but because in our heart we feel it's the right thing to do. The world would be a better place. And that's where I'm at. I'm using the pain of my past, I'm using the hurt from my sister being gone to try and do my part in making the world a better place. And you can do the same. So, thank you.